Good morning, everyone. This is Learn to Love Yourself or Serenity with Rosie. And this is the third one in a line of 7 from mental health and emotional resilience. And today's topic is overcoming the need to apologize for everything. But first, I'm going to take a brief moment and invite you to do the same. And calm my energies while we have this conversation. And I invite my spirit guides, and you're invited to ask yours as well. So, where does over apologizing come from? And it can come from conditioning, from abuse, different like blame that was misplaced, or even past relationships where you were put in situations made to feel like everything was your fault. And it's really, really hard because when you're used to always being put down, it's hard to think that you deserve any less. And so it's a really, really rough topic. And I know it took me a bit to learn to stop saying I'm sorry for everything, because and I know personally how I felt is even sorry wasn't even good enough. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, they were just yelling at you, so you felt like you had to somehow take responsibility for it, when in truth it had nothing to do with you. And so it's a really sad thing to understand. And it's a sign, and when you say, oh, it's abuse, and it is, it's a sign that you were put in a situation that you didn't feel safe, and that you didn't feel seen, and you didn't feel heard. And so you further climb into yourself because you don't know, because nothing you're doing seems to make a difference. And that's how it is when you are in a relationship with a narcissistic person who only thinks of themselves and their own need for your light, because they haven't figured out how to make light of their own. And that's why they can get so angry and upset when you fight back. The next topic, the first one was, where does it come from, obviously. The second one is the difference between taking responsibility and over apologizing. So a lot of people who over apologize is because they feel unworthy, whether it's in themselves, whether it's something someone's told them. There's a lot of different things that can come into play of why and how you take between taking responsibility versus over apologizing. Because yes, we do live in a day where everyone is faced with taking responsibility for your own actions. And a lot of people don't like that because maybe they've done things that they're not proud of. But then when we stop and realize we've all done things that we're not always proud of. We've all done things and made decisions off of what we felt needed to happen at the moment in time. And so you have to learn how to forgive yourself and to acknowledge and take accountability and say, I didn't mean to. And so that's the big difference, because you should apologize when you should. But if you're apologizing for something that you have no control over, And so that's how you have to learn to reframe. The next thing is how overanalyzing affects your self-worth. So feeling unworthy and feeling like you were always wrong. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard it. Somebody's like, oh, I'm always wrong. And instead of them saying, thank you for helping me understand a different perspective, a different view on the subject, we're immediately getting defensive. And people are like, the classic thing is, and I've even found myself doing it. People are like, oh, well, I didn't mean to upset you. And I'm like, I'm not affected. I'm not upset. And it's like, and then I sit there right after I say it and I'm like, yeah, I am a bit triggered. I am a little upset. And you have to stop and take accountability, because realize how you respond to things is because of what inside you is telling you it needs healed. And so you have to learn how to catch yourself so that you can see and move on and grow to this newer plane. And so the next thing is how do you replace I'm sorry? How do you change your thoughts? And I had a very dear friend, and she's like, everything was, people are like, oh, you were so mean. And she would, and I know it seems kind of brazen a little bit, but it made me laugh kind of at first. When I first left the church. I remember I had gone with my friends that I had just met, and it was like, because the first time I walked in a bar, I was 30 years old, and the bartender at first was like, they were like laughing about how it was one of the first times I'd gone in a bar, and they were like, well, how old are you? And they're like, can I see your license? I was like, show it to them, and they're like, you're 30 years old. Why is this the first time? But I had had some previous experiences from growing up where um, uh, I was exposed to be around people that drank, and I was afraid I would turn out like them. And so that was why I didn't. And not that I'm a big drinker now, I do enjoy drinks from time to time. So the thing of how to express your different, like not saying you're welcome when it could be hurtful. I agree that that's not especially probably the best thing, but most of the time it does, it kind of makes people be quiet. It's kind of like my kids, they come up with different, I guess you would say they were a roundabout way of a swear word, and they use these, like if somebody is doing something, they'll call them a burnt Pop Tart or a soggy Oreo or just something. And I says, what, how'd you guys come up with this lingo? You know, this is interesting. And they're like, well, if you call people, you know, and I don't want to get restricted on YouTube, but if you call them other things, the B word or the A word, you know, calling people things, and then everybody's so conditioned and used to it, they don't even think twice. But if you call them a burnt Pop Tart or a used toothbrush or something, then they're just stop for a second. They're just like, okay. And so I don't know. I guess that's how my kids are tried to be more creative. But so that's basically, that was my experience in learning to change the narrative. And people would say, oh, you just hurt my feelings. And it was somebody who was being rude. And you just say, well, you're welcome. And it's just like I told in my last video about the guy who called me a black box of pure evil. And I was like, well, you're welcome. And I walked off. Because, and I'm not saying it's never a good response. It's just, you have to have charisma and know what the energies you're dealing with and what the response should be. At least that's what I do personally. And so the thing is you want to, with your things and feeling the energy, is you want to be able to express consideration, whether it had anything to do with you or not. A lot of people just want to know that it's okay and that they're okay, because a lot of this world makes us feel uncertain at times, and it's hard and scary. And so a lot of times, even people say things out of anger, and they're just looking for that one person to be like, you know what, it's going to be all right. And it's not saying that you have to do that, but I believe in treating others how you want to be treated. And if you are having a rough day, would you want somebody to say a kind word? But the biggest thing is, the next topic is, you have to set boundaries. Boundaries, 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 boundaries. It is such a big thing. And people are like, oh, you're always saying that. And I'm like, and they're like, but I set them. And people run over the top of them. They don't respect him. And that's because you let them run over the top of them. Anyone can set boundaries. It takes courage and determination and discipline to maintain those boundaries, because you show other people how they can treat you and what's acceptable. And it's not saying that you're worth more than anyone else. It's simply saying is, you know what you're worth now. Everybody's worth that, but a lot of people don't know. And that's how, to me, it goes hand in hand of treating others how you want to be treated and being respectful. And so that other people that don't know don't think about it, because people will try to get away with what they can. And over apologizing can affect relationships in your personal friendships, your romantic relationships, any relationship. All relationships are not romantic. And so any relationship you have with anyone, and it's just a big thing. And the first thing, especially with women, when I hear somebody always, or even guys, I've seen it, they're always apologizing, and it's very, very clear, very quick, especially as a waitress, to see really, really quickly. Or I worked at a farm feed store. Anyone you interact with, even at the grocery store, just watch people for a moment, and you can real quick pick up who's abused in what situation. It's not hard to tell. You watch somebody for 5 minutes. It's not a big secret. And so my biggest thing is if we're all in our own power, we all know our worth, then the people who like to abuse will have to learn how to love themselves too, because there won't be a supply available for them that's free. And so you have to, it all comes down to self-reflection, breaking the cycle. Let's break this. Let's flip it on its head. We don't need this. We all, every last person on this planet that's called Earth, wants to feel loved, wants to feel cared for, wants to feel needed, and wants to feel valued. Everyone wants that. But the missing link that none of us knew, which we should have been taught from the time we were little, is we have to value ourselves before we can value anyone else. Because how you think of yourself, how you perceive yourself, is how you perceive the world around you. And I know some people think that's a harsh thing to say, but it's so true. And I want you to be able to feel my words. Feel the truth of it. Feel the lightness and the truth and the peace it brings. Because all of you are amazing. All of you are more magnificent than you even imagine. And so you have to be genuine. Think of it, when somebody's given you something, how long did you sit there and think? And you're like, something weird is just attached to that gift. And it's just, you can tell if it has attachments, if they gave it to you to get a gift, or if they just gave it out of obligation. The thing is everything you do, every step you take, everything is taken into account. And that is what you receive back, because you only get what you give. So if you give anger and frustration, you get anger and frustration back. If you give love, peace, honor, respect, that's what you can get back. So to be genuine or be authentic, just say what you mean. If you are having a problem with someone, obviously be assertive with your communication, but do it in such a way where you can get the point across. You know, I had an experience where someone was bullying me as a server, and I analyzed their behavior for a while, a couple months, and then they wouldn't stop. And I finally walked up to him one day and I said, you know what? Your lack of self-love is not my problem. And I guess, I don't know, some people think that's harsh, but to me, in my world, in my mind, if I was doing something that hurt someone or made them feel anxiety, I want to know exactly what I'm doing to fix it. I dislike it when you're having a conversation with someone and they're going around and around and around and around, and you can't even tell what they're driving at or what the point is, because it's like you're going all of these ways around about. It's like, just say it. Just say what you think. Say what you feel. Just come out with it. Because you can always tell there's a different vibration when people aren't being truthful and honest. And so let's just be honest with each other. Whether it means we didn't tell them we love them, even though we felt it. Even though we didn't tell them we cared, even though we wanted to. Let's just be honest with each other. And it's hard. You have to learn how to take up space for yourself. And some of us feel like we were told to be small, and that's what we thought we had to be. But you realize all of us have a place here on this earth. All of us. There's not one soul that has any more right to it than you do. We all have that spot. And so take up that space. Make it something that you're proud of. What legacy are you going to leave? What impression do you want to leave on the world? Because it will be there. And only you can decide what that is. And ask for what you need. Communicate your needs. And if you know, so many people, they're like, oh, but they didn't do this. I see it in relationships so much. And I realized off my past relationships, even I've done this, where it's almost like you expected the other person to be a mind reader, and how he didn't know that I was sad and that I was upset. How could he not know? We're not all mind readers. Yes, some of us inherently, that's what we do. But nonetheless, even I've had situations where I can tell like something's kind of off, and I'll kind of ask and they don't want to talk, and it's like, okay. And then it's like, if you just tell me what's wrong, if you tell me what you want, you communicate properly. And this is taking communication. How important do you think communication is? It's very, very important. And so you have to communicate clearly. And so there's no misunderstandings. There's no way to construe it any way. Because that's why I say what you mean what you say. Don't mince your words. Just be honest. Because honesty has a vibe. Truth has a vibe to it. And no, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty about taking up space, because you are important. You are loved. You are needed more than you know. You are all amazing creators. We all are. And we get the opportunity to shape this new world, this new reality that we get to share. And we all get to build it together. And so it comes down to reframing how best to do it. There is a lot of different ways that you can, but here are just some examples. Like if somebody, instead of saying, sorry, I'm late, say, thank you for waiting for me. Just a little tweak. And then instead of saying, sorry to bother you, you could say, do you have a moment? See how that switches the energy? And then instead of saying, sorry, I just wanted to check in, say, I wanted to follow up with you. And so the difference is, you're wondering what the difference is between those. One is based in guilt, and the other is based in confidence, where you're owning your words instead of assuming that you did something wrong. Own your words. Be proud of who you are. The way you speak to the world is the way the world will speak to you. So I just want you all to know how loved you are and how anything can happen for you if you believe it. And you're more. There's so many people around you that want to help, but do you believe it? Have a good day.